Spring finally made its way around here, and I cannot imagine a better spring dessert than today's recipe, almond flour lemon cake. Hello, my friend. If you're new here, I am Ice, and I'm the person behind foolproofliving.com, where I share tried and true recipes made without the use of refined sugars. I also love baking with almond flour and consider cakes made with almond flour to be my specialty. If you're a fan as well, I am pretty sure that you might like my extensive library of almond flour cakes, such as my strawberry, chocolate, carrot, and apple cakes that have been favored by many readers all around the world. Today's recipe, almond flour lemon cake, is the newest addition to the collection, and I personally think that it is a wonderfully refreshing cake recipe for the warmer days ahead. So, without further ado, let me show you how to make it. Start by separating the whites and yolks of 4 eggs. As it is in most baked goods, it is important to have all of the ingredients at room temperature. However, I find that it is easier to separate eggs when they are still cold, so therefore, we start by doing that first. This way they can come to room temperature as we are working on the rest of the ingredients. Set those aside and prep the pan. I'm using a 9-inch springform pan, but you can use an 8-inch round cake pan as well. Simply brush it with a generous amount of vegetable oil. I'm using avocado oil. And line a sheet of parchment paper at the bottom. I use these pre-cut 9-inch parchment rounds that I bought from Amazon, and I think it's such a good time saver and worth every penny if you bake a lot of cakes. This is also a good time to preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, we'll work on the batter. We're using 3 bowls for this recipe, one for the dry ingredients, one for the wet ingredients where the egg yolks are already in, and one for the egg whites. For the dry ingredients, I recommend using the largest bowl as we'll be mixing everything in this one in the end. Measure 1 3/4 cups of almond flour and whisk in a tablespoon of cornstarch and a teaspoon of baking powder. Move over to the second bowl with the egg yolks and add half a cup of maple syrup and a teaspoon of vanilla. If you have it, you can also add in a half a teaspoon of almond extract, but that's optional. Pour the wet ingredients into the dry ones. Add in the zest of 2 lemons. And stir to combine. At this point, the batter will be very thick, and that's okay. Finally, move on to the third bowl with the egg whites. Add in a teaspoon of lemon juice and a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. Using a hand mixer, whisk them at medium-high speed until soft peaks form. This should take about 2 to 3 minutes. Stir 1/3 of the beaten egg whites into the batter to lighten it, then using a rubber spatula, gently fold the remaining egg whites until just combined. The batter should be evenly moistened with no streaks of egg whites remaining, but it will not be completely smooth, and that is normal. We do not want to overmix it because we worked so hard to get all that air into the batter and we don't want to lose that. Transfer the batter to the prepared pan and gently spread it into an even layer. Bake for 25 to 30 minutes or until the edges of the cake have begun to pull away from the pan and the top is golden brown. Let it cool for 5 to 10 minutes on a wire rack, and then loosen the edges with a knife. Remove the springform pan and let it fully cool to room temperature on a wire rack. Now, at this point, meaning once it is cooled down, your almond flour lemon cake is ready to eat. You can serve it as it is, and if you have leftovers, you can either store them in the fridge or freeze them for later. I included everything you need to know about how to do that in the blog post, and I'll make sure to include the link in the description below. However, if you want to take it up a notch, you can top it off with my maple whipped cream and garnish it with seasonal berries. Just doing that takes like no more than 5 minutes, and I think both the whipped cream and berries complement the lemon cake beautifully. As a final touch, be sure to sprinkle it with more lemon zest for some additional color and lemon flavor with every bite. There you have it, friends, an easy to make, minimally sweetened but super delicious spring cake recipe that I think is worth a try. If you're like me, a fan of baking with almond flour, be sure to check out all our almond flour recipes both on our website and on social media. And if you end up making this recipe, be sure to tag me on Instagram so that I can see your creations. As always, thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time.